Bonjour tout le monde! Aujourd'hui, on va explorer les erreurs de prononciation les plus courantes chez les francophones en anglais. So I'm going to switch into English. We're going to look at the speech sounds. We're going to look at connected speech, and we're going to talk a little bit about stress and intonation as well. My name's Katie. I'm the founder of British Accent Academy, and I've been teaching French speakers of English for the last, I want to say, 12 years. And I find that so many French speakers are excellent with their grammar and vocabulary, but many of you struggle with your English pronunciation. So I'm here to help with the 10 most important mistakes that you can fix in your English pronunciation. So first of all, we've got this ha, 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 the aspirated H. Now, in English, we pronounce the ha when it is written almost every time. So we pronounce it as an out breath, ha, 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 and it's important not to cut this. So, house, him, hero, hollow, holes, hiccup, hint. Now, if you see a little tiny H in the middle of a phrase, like in his, him, her, and it's not stressed, sometimes then you hear the H being cut. But normally when you see the H, you need to pronounce it. Next up, we've got the TH sounds, the infamous TH sounds. So the rule of thumb is to touch your tongue tip on the edge of your upper teeth for TH. Moth. Notice that I'm blowing the air out while I'm touching my tongue tip on the edge of my upper teeth. Moth, teeth, through, throw. Now, we have this voiceless TH, but we also have the voiced TH. The voiced TH is frequently found in grammatical words. We do exactly the same thing with our tongue tip, touching it on the edge of the upper teeth and blowing the air through. But for the voiced one, we also vibrate our vocal folds. We have some vibration here. This, that, these, them. You want to make sure that your tongue is always making that strong contact with the edge of the upper teeth. These, that, these, them. Very nice. The next one is to do with the tense and lax vowels. So some teachers say, oh, the long and the short vowels. That's not very helpful because we can actually say lazy words in a long way when we're being enthusiastic, and we can say tense little words in a very short way if they're positioned in the phrase in a slightly less stressed position. So, for example, the difference between bitch and beach, we can say both of them as long and short. It's more about the muscle exertion that we're adding into our tongue. That's much more important. So for Chris with a single I, make it very neutral. Chris, 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 Chris. Whereas for crease, a crease, a crease, we're adding lots of muscle exertion into the tongue. And the tongue tip comes slightly closer to the teeth, but don't worry too much about that. Think about that muscle energy, that muscle exertion. Chris, Chris, Chris. We can make it long. It's not about length. The length doesn't change the meaning. Chris, Chris. We don't want to overstretch that E. It sounds weird if you do that. So try and keep it quite in proportion. Chris, Chris. Then we've got some diphthongs, some double vowels, and we want to see plenty of movement in here. Some of the most noticeable mistakes that I hear in French speakers is that these diphthongs, these double vowels, don't have enough movement in them. So instead of a, for example, we want a here. Same, same. Break, a. Notice how my jaw moves up. A, same, break. The same thing with O. We want to see movement in the lips. O. My background doesn't like that. O. Known, spoken, known, spoken. Start in a neutral position and move into a round shape. Known, spoken. That movement is crucial. Next, let's talk about syllable weight. In European French, the syllable weight is quite even across syllables. So this would be Clara, Anna, for example. But in English, this would be Clara, Anna, Clara, Anna. I live in Quebec. You may have noticed in my accent. Clara, Anna. Okay, so really placing the stress on a certain syllable. The second syllable in these cases is weak, but we can get the opposite as well. We can get a weak syllable and then a strong syllable, and a weak syllable. But we certainly have this waxing and waning and stress. Next, we've got neutral lip rounding. So no lip rounding for the central vowels in British English. So we want to avoid protruding the lips for these central vowels. So we want rise, commit, not It's very similar, but we just don't round the lips. Rise, commit, turn, earn. You can see that we're not pronouncing the unless it comes before a vowel phoneme. We want it to be very lazy. Turn, earn, really neutral with that mouth. Then again, we get the same patterns in stress across the phrase, in that in British English we see waxing and waning. We see this increase in stress and then a decrease, and then increase, decrease, and the syllables do not count for the same amount, if you like. They don't count for the same weight. We squish together some syllables, and in French the syllables are more evenly spaced. So in this case, what are you doing? What are you doing? We get a tiny bit of stress on the what, and then we get are you, very, very small, doing. Notice as well how in this question, we're actually falling in our intonation. In French, typically you rise on a question, but in English, for WH questions, you can actually fall. Da, 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 da. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Da, 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 da. And then let's talk about some irregular spellings. So English is notorious for its irregular spellings. And there are so many different ways of pronouncing O. There are actually 7 different ways. And in the Complete English Pronunciation course, I run through every single one in detail. We do lots of exercises on this, on A spellings as well. So this is actually oven with an Make your mouth as soft and lazy as you can. Oven, oven, oven. It's not no, it's oven, oven. This one is love, love, love. This one is done, done, oven, love, done, So learn all of the O spellings, well, 7 O spellings in the Complete English Pronunciation course. When you click through this blog post, you're going to find all of the different links. Okay, so next, the so rather than making a uvula like you would do in European French, you need to tense your tongue for the R in English and keep the tongue quite close to the teeth or close to the palate. We don't want the back of the tongue doing anything at all, really. We want to bunch the tongue and add tension to it. Rubbish, running, area. We're bunching and reaching, adding tension to that tongue. And then finally, frequently French speakers will miss off s and z at the ends of words. That's because in French, as you know, those s's and z's are not pronounced at the ends of words. In English, we absolutely have to say those s's and z's every single time. So really get in the habit of hissing at the ends of your words. If you don't, then unfortunately in your IELTS, you might experience a lower score than you otherwise would because it sounds ungrammatical when you don't. So it's very, very important to pronounce the S's in every case when you see them in British English. You'll notice that on occasion we have an S that's pronounced like a Z. This is when we have a voiced speech sound and then an S ending. We need to say the S and we need to say it like a Z, especially if there's a vowel sound next. We do a little liaison. Dogs, dogs, dogs. Notice that it's not R. Dogs, dogs. Hear that Z, that vibrating Z when we have this S after a voiced speech sound. All the rest of the time here, you can make kind of a soft sound as long as you're saying that. That's the most important thing. Matt's brother's dogs are all mongrels. Now, technically, this is a Z as well, but it's very soft because it comes at the very end. Matt's brother's dogs are all mongrels. To reduce your French accent when you're speaking English and pronounce English clearly and confidently every single time for your life and your career, enroll in an English pronunciation course at British Accent Academy. I promise you the results that you're going to see are going to make a tremendous difference to how you sound in English and how confident you feel when you're expressing yourself in the language. So, à bientôt. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.